called Tangletown, it's at the intersection of 56th and Meridian, was a comparison site for this study. Here's how the neighborhood performed. Once again, the bike lane signified the project. This project was more recent, so the post-project data is not as available since Q4 2012 is the most recent we can get. There we have how Tangletown performed, quite similar, a little bit different in terms of its flow, but in general it stayed around a 100% sales index. And then there we have the improvement site. This is how 65th and Latona performed economically after the project. So what can we conclude from this? Well, based on the data, the loss of 12 parking spots did not have a negative impact on the Northeast 65th Street and Latona Northeast Business District. And you're probably thinking, well, is that it? Why can't we talk about how it performed better? I mean, looking back at the graph, it went to 400% sales index from right after the improvement. Well, based on the nature of taxable retail sales data, you don't actually have an understanding of how the mode split changed over time compared to the economic trend. So we don't know if it was bicyclists or if it was pedestrians or cars or skateboarders who came and spent all the money after the improvement site. All we know is that, well, the economics went up at around the same time frame as the improvement. So that led me to the rest of my project, thinking about how can we improve this? How can we really start correlating economic trends with mode splits? Looking back at the two types of data we have taxable retail sales data and intercept surveys. Well, in terms of economics, taxable retail sales data really tells us what happens here. It's true data on how the businesses reported to the state in terms of economics. Survey-based data, not as valid. That's based on someone telling the surveyor, I spend $100 and I come here 4 times a month. Not as valid as actual true economic data. And then we have the mode split data. No connection to mode and retail data. It says nothing about how people get there. But intercept surveys do help us understand that. They tell us, okay, well, before the project it was primarily automobiles. After the project, maybe it was pedestrians that started coming here a lot. So my proposal for implementing this study in the future and really improving the methods to understand how we can connect economics to mode split is to combine these two different methods or ways of collecting data to get an understanding of mode split with economic change. So let's go back to the bike master plan. We've got 161 miles of bike facilities coming adjacent to retail. That's many opportunities to implement this analysis. Implemented enough and get enough case studies, we can start understanding, well, what type of facilities work on business districts? Everything from a Shero, which is hardly a bike facility in terms of safety, to a cycle track, which separates space specifically for bikes and really, makes it a thoroughfare for bikes. Where in that gradient do we find that business districts prosper? And the same thing goes for business districts. Here's 2 examples from Seattle. Lake City Way, you might be familiar with, up in the very northeast corner. Not very dense neighborhood, much different business mix and customer base. And the same with the Ave. It's way more dense. Customer base is a lot younger, and the business mix is much different than Lake City Way. So we have a gradient and in many directions, really, of different types of business districts. And where in that gradient do we find that bike facilities really help the businesses prosper? So eventually we might be able to figure out which type of business districts, which type of facilities help us prosper economically and make bicycling safe in Seattle. Do you have any questions?